Oh, my bike's broke. I don't know what's wrong with it. I bet you ain't telling your mechanic, man, that you was sitting there. So guys, it's about that time to go ahead and buy that used bike. At the end of this video, you should know everything you need to know to successfully make a purchase and not have no worries about what you bought. What's going on, guys? Roadkingsino here, bring you another quick episode of the Dirtyleftshoechronicles. A lot of people, they tend to be nervous about their purchase or not knowing what to look for. So what we'll go ahead and do is go over a few pointers so you feel comfortable in actually making that purchase. Before I move ahead, make sure you comment, like, subscribe, and if you find this video helpful at the end, I want you to go ahead and give it a share. First thing I go ahead and do is do my research. Two main things that I research when I'm looking at a bike, when I'm looking for a bike. I research that particular bike as far as the price point, value meaning for that bike. What it's going for in the used market, with the amount of miles and maybe a bike that I'm actually looking for, or that I actually have my eye on. The next thing that I'm looking for is any known problems with that bike. Maybe oiling issues, electrical issues, charging system issues, things of that nature. So you ready to go ahead and take that next step and make that initial contact? First things you want to check out and make sure is that the vehicle has a clean, clear title. If it's a stunt bike, track bike, something of that nature, you don't necessarily need a clean title. But if it is something that you're gonna have in a road, preferably you would want a clean title, at least know what you're getting. Also, make sure there's no liens or anything on the title. And another important thing you want to do is, if it's possible, make sure that that title is in the name of the actual seller. That's going to be important because you never know if you might run into any issues at the DMV, and you want to be able to have easy access to the person who you purchased the vehicle from in case you have to go through them for maybe the bill of sale wasn't right. Maybe they signed something wrong or put it in the wrong place. So those are the initial things that you want to ask that person on the phone before you even make that step to go ahead and meet up with them. You want to meet up with that person in a well-lit area, preferably daytime. Even if it's at their house, that'll be a plus, just because you know they're not going to pick up their house and just leave. That ensures your security and it assures your visibility on what you're actually looking at. So you're meeting up with them. At this point in time, don't mention any type of numbers or anything like that. What you're gonna go ahead and do is and we're gonna use my bike for an example. You're gonna come and you're gonna look at the bike. Don't start it up or anything. What you're doing is you're checking things like your case covers for leaks, for cracks, for scrapes. So you're just gonna pan around the bike real quick, checking on several things. Check your forks for any leaks. Again, check your case covers. Make sure it's no scrapes or anything. Pardon me, man, my bike is filthy right now, but we just using this for learning purposes. You take your finger and rub it across the oil pan. You see that? It's nothing on my finger but dust, like just dirt. You can also run it across the oil pan nut, and that'll let you know, if it's a problem with that as far as if it's wet or not. So you just checking it again for leaks. Also, what you want to go ahead and do is just get a brake, a squeeze, checking it for pressure. Also give the clutch a squeeze, checking it for pressure. That's just in case if you go ahead and do a test drive, you want to make sure the brakes and stuff are working properly. Now, after you've done that, you still haven't cranked up the bike yet. Most people, they're going to do things like checking the tire tread, checking the chain, checking the actual brake wear as far as brake pads. To me, that's not a big deal. You're going to check it, but it's not really a deal breaker because I consider those normal wear. Those are things that you're going to actually go through as you're riding the bike anyways. You're going to be changing your brake pads, having a service or change out your chain and tires. Between us, those are what you could use when you get down to actually negotiating the price for the bike. So don't say I never told you anything. Shh, that's a little kept secret. Sorry guys if it's an issue with hearing me right now. Got this diesel ass work truck over here, messing up my program, but we're gonna keep on moving on right now. What you're gonna go ahead and do is you're gonna request to see the title. When you see the title, only thing you're trying to do is verify that it's a clean, clear title, as the seller said, that there's no brands or anything on it, and also you want to match up that VIN number, which is normally in the neck of most motorcycles, and they might have an actual secondary sticker on there where you can see the VIN number as well. This will be a good time to start asking your questions. So as you're looking at the title and you're matching up the numbers and you checking to make sure it's a clean, clear title, start asking questions. So for example, you're going to ask them questions like, how long have you had the bike? Have you had any major issues with it? Do you work on it or service it yourself? These things are actually, you're going to be able to utilize. The whole time you're asking these questions, make sure you're looking over it. Ask them things like, has the bike been in any major, or have you been in any major or minor accidents with it? Whole time you're still looking over the bike, looking over the title. What you're trying to do is make sure the story that they're giving you is adding up. That's really your only purpose for asking these questions during this time or when you're looking at the title. Let me just give you a little example of the questions that you're asking. If they say they work on their bike themselves, it shouldn't be no issue with them telling you when the last time they changed the oil. They should know at least a month when they change the oil, a month and a year, you know what I mean? Because some people, they might go through a whole riding season. So that's just an example for that question of you asking the purpose of it. Okay, also, they might say, oh, the bike's only been down one time in the garage, it fell over, you know, it's never been in any major accidents. If that's the case, you know, they might point out maybe somewhere where the fairing is cracked or something, but it shouldn't be any directional scrapes in the fairings. It shouldn't be any directional scrapes on the engine cover, frame sliders, bar ends, anything like that. If it only fell over in the garage, you see what I'm saying? Those are signs of a bike actually falling and sliding. So you got this far. Now it's time to hear the bike and hopefully ride it. So now you're at the point where you want to start it up. When you're starting it up, ask them politely for the keys, obviously, and you crank it up yourself. And the only thing you want to do is crank it up like you would normally crank up any bike. You just want to make sure it's no specific technique or this person got their bike rigged up to where you got to, you know, bump the starter twice and, you know, hop on one leg or something like that. So I'm going to go ahead and just start up the bike just so you can see what I'm talking about. And the majority of bikes should crank right up. So you're looking for a strong, clean start. Let the motor go ahead and idle. And once it's up to temperature, what you're looking for is a smooth, consistent sound of the motor. Okay, during this time, you want to go around the bike again. What you're looking for is for leaks once again, and also for smells. You know, the smell of burning oil, the smell of coolant, things like that could be signs of leaks. Things like that could be signs of problems, you know, with gaskets or anything of that nature. And quick tip before we go any further about it, man. For the people who actually out in the street, man, who going to go see a bike or, you know, who's riding their own bike, when you start your bike up, man, and you at a light or you checking somebody's bike up and you just hitting that throttle, you're doing nothing for your bike. You're actually, man, in a process of ruining your motor. You're hitting the red line, you know what I mean? You're taking it into places that motor does not like to be in. Don't get me wrong. You know, most motorcycles have high RPMs, but you're on the verge of ruining your motor. You're all in a red line. Then when your shit, man, boat's sitting there leaking, you know, you sitting there crying, man, looking for a tow or something. You know what I mean? Oh, my bike's broke. I don't know what's wrong with it. I bet you ain't telling your mechanic, man, that you was sitting there. All is well with the motor. It's checked out good. It's sounding good. No leaks, no weird smells. Everything's kind of working in your favor at this point. So it's time, man, to ask the big question for a test ride. In most cases, if you go to check a bike out and the person see that you're knowledgeable about what you're looking at and what you're doing, a lot of times they won't have any problem with letting you test ride the bike. The one thing I know that I might do if I'm selling a bike is a person will have to give me cash in hand. Just because you never know what might happen. They might go around the corner and fall off the bike. They might take it down the street and, you know, out of your vision and fall off the bike or wreck the bike. I just like to know that I got that cash in hand, where if something happens to my bike that I'm selling, you know what I mean, that I got that money right there. We'll figure it out, figure out the details, but I know I got that money. In the case that they do have a problem with it, it's not really a whole lot that you can do there. Me personally, I bought bikes that I haven't even started up. But I'm a little more advanced when it comes to purchasing and buying bikes as far as knowing the particular motors that I'm looking at. I don't recommend that to anybody. So in the case of them not wanting you to test drive the bike, the only thing you can do is come up with some type of an agreement. It would be nice if you can have it down on paper, maybe video of it or something like that. I such and such agree that this motorcycle has no issues with the motor in no way, shape, or form. And I will give you a refund if it does. In no way, shape, or form am I telling you that that'll necessarily work, but it's just building another pad in your favor in case there is any type of issue or whatever with the motorcycle. So best case scenario, they let you test ride the bike. And I'm gonna go ahead and get ready and wrap this video up because I don't want to make it too long. So you go ahead, you crank the bike up again, and you go ahead and you go on your test ride. You want to make sure that you're shifting through all your gears. You want to make sure that the motor is running smooth. You shouldn't have any jerks with the motor as you're shifting through the gears. You want to check and make sure it's no power surging. You want to make sure your gauge cluster is doing what it's supposed to do. No crazy lights popping up on the dash. Do things like check your brakes. You should brake hard, but don't overdo it. The only thing you're really trying to do is check and make sure it's no shake in the head of your bike. Make sure it's no problem with the bearings or anything in the triple tree of the bike. If there is, when you brake or if you brake hard, you'll know because you'll get shake at the top of the bike, at the neck of the bike. So another thing you're looking for is strong acceleration. That part can be kind of tricky because people do all types of things with their bikes and they're not necessarily always the right combination. In most cases, if they don't have a full exhaust, if they don't have a external fuel management system, if they haven't had their ECU flashed or anything, the motor should actually accelerate pretty well. So you shouldn't have a big issue with that. So make sure you check that. After that, you're pretty much done with your test ride. You don't want to take someone's bike and go down the road and up the road beating it up and, you know, doing wheelies and doing a bunch of crazy stuff on it because you still haven't purchased it. Technically, it's not your bike. You're bringing a bike back. You should turn the bike off and actually leave the bike sitting for a little bit. You might start mentioning numbers. Those things as far as the chain, as far as tires or any small little minor issues that you've seen with the bike is when you're actually going to work that into the negotiation process of it. So when it comes to this point, it's not but so much that I can say to you. Hopefully you know where your price point is with that particular bike. Last thing you want to do is just crank the bike up again. Maybe after 5-10 minutes, just crank the bike up again. The only thing you're looking for is a nice, strong startup like it initially did for you. Those are the tips that I got for you today. I hope this video was helpful for you. If it was, make sure you share it. Give it to a friend and let that friend give it to a friend and let that friend give it to a friend. If you go through a different process when you buy a bike, leave in the comment section below. I'd be curious to know what your process is of purchasing a used bike. I'll catch y'all next time. Peace.